Senator Dick Durbin all smiles after the immigration reform bill passed the Senate yesterday, but it's going to face a difficult road if it's going to make it through the House. For more on that, let's bring in Republican Congressman Peter Roskam from the western suburbs, who joins me on the phone. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us in politics tonight.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. Good to be with you.
You know, when it comes to what the House is going to do, you have the Gang of Eight that worked on this Senate package, got 68 votes, 14 Republican votes. You responded, I think even prior to the vote, that you said if you think the House is going to act on this, it's a pipe dream. Speaker Boehner said that the House wants to have a very deliberative process on this. What is the next step here as far as the House?
Here's the next step. I mean, the fact that the United States Senate tackled an incredibly complicated issue and came up with a solution is a very good start. And I congratulate the Senate for moving through and taking the time and coming up with a solution. But as you know, we've clearly got two houses in Congress. What the House is more likely to do is to break this process down, to focus in on moving a border bill through, and then looking at how to do high-tech visas, and then how to work through a guest worker program, and then look to how do you make right with the law people who are here illegally that want to get right with the law. But I think the more time I've spent out in the House and the more members of Congress that I've talked to from across the country, they have no appetite, interest, or capacity in passing one big bill. Remember, these were people, Rick, who were largely motivated to run for Congress based on the failures that they perceived of Obamacare. It was too big. Nobody read it. It wasn't well thought out. And instead, they have a real interest in breaking the process down, driving towards a solution, but doing it piece by piece.
All right. Congressman, we have Steve from the Gold Coast who has a question for you. Steve, thanks for joining us in politics tonight.
Yes, I wanted to make 2 points. One, with regard to the question of immigration reform. I mean, let's keep in mind that, for right or wrong, there are a great many people on the right in this country who consider this legal pathway, which invariably leads to full citizenship for many people, will result in an advantage for the other side of the aisle, Democrats. So there is a vested interest that Republicans have in ensuring that the Democrats don't have that advantage. So we need to be clear about that. And secondly, with regard to Jesse Jackson and his wife, Jesse Jackson Jr., I wouldn't lose too much sleep over this issue in terms of their being financially destitute. Persons in that position, irrespective of whether they serve time in prison, can come back and represent large interests as lobbyists.
Okay.
And the fact
Steve,
that they have a felony record does not impact that.
All right. Thanks, Steve. We're going to go back to the issue of immigration. Congressman, I mean, there's no doubt that there's, politics is certainly at play in this. But when you look at the fact that you're talking about the process of taking what the Senate did as a comprehensive approach and basically piecemealing it across, I mean, what is the chances of support when you get to that last that last point that you made in this process about some kind of pathway to citizenship? That's certainly something that a number of Republicans in your caucus have said they absolutely cannot support.
Look, I'm not underestimating for a second the nature of the challenge in putting together a solution that has eluded this country basically for 30 years. It's a very complicated and difficult process. But I'll tell you this. I believe that if there is a level of confidence that the border is actually secure, and I mean really secure, you know what I mean, then it takes so much drama and anxiety out of the situation, and then you can begin to move forward to the next step. I'll make another prediction. I think that there's going to be continuing stories of things that are packed inside the Senate immigration bill that you're going to find members of the Senate say, I really had no idea that that was in there. So I think it moved through comparatively quickly, and as I mentioned before, the experience that the Obamacare, the provocation of Obamacare, insofar as members of Congress decided to run based on what they thought was a flawed bill and a flawed process, means that they're going to go slow, they're going to read the bills, and as somebody that works with a lot of members of Congress every day, what I have discovered is the more comprehensive and bigger a piece of legislation is, the more difficult it is to pass. I say break it down, move slow, and you can get to a very good result But if it's either the United States Senate version of immigration reform or nothing, it's not a direction that will, I think, yield a good result.
All right. We're going to switch gears just a little bit here. Congressman, some of your people came up with this vine from yesterday's House Ways and Means Committee, where you really gave it to acting IRS Chair Daniel Werfel. Let's take a look.
This has no meaning. This is junk. This has no meaning. This is junk. This has no meaning.
What was going on there?
The acting IRS commissioner was before the Ways and Means Committee, and they had produced documents that the Ways and Means Committee had requested under this investigation that's ongoing about the targeting of conservative groups. Well, the redactions, in other words, holding back information, is against the law according to the 1998 Act, and they were hiding, in my opinion, they're hiding inside the protections of confidentiality of personal taxpayer information. So in other words, they were telling Congress, we can't give this information to you because it involves personal taxpayer information. That was nonsense. I knew that documents that they had redacted didn't have personal information. They're hiding behind it, and I was calling them out on it. I am very, very troubled at the idea that the IRS is not forthcoming with information that they need to share, non-confidential information, by the way, that they need to share with the American people.
All right. Well, Congressman Roskam, thank you so much for joining us. And, of course, we'll be watching as this IRS hearings and investigations continue, as well as the immigration reform activity.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for having me.